The Pacific Ocean is much larger than we can even imagine. If you were to drill a hole through the Earth from one side of the Pacific Ocean, you'd still end up in the Pacific on the other side. There are 5 oceans in total, and the largest of them is the Pacific Ocean, which spans an area of 165 million square kilometers. To put that into perspective, the total land area on Earth is only 148 million square kilometers, meaning that the Pacific Ocean alone is larger than all the land masses combined, including mountains, deserts, forests, and islands. The islands in this massive ocean appear as tiny dots in comparison, and most of them have never been visited by humans. If someone gets lost in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, the chances of finding them are nearly non-existent. However, today we'll hear the story of someone who got lost in the Pacific Ocean, not for just 10 or 15 days, but for a staggering 438 days. Yes, this person unintentionally set a world record that no one would want to break. This incredible survival story belongs to José Salvador Alvarenga, who spent 438 days stranded in the Pacific on a small 7-foot boat. The big question is, how did he manage to survive for 14 months in the terrifying ocean all by himself? But before that, let's find out how he ended up there in the first place. It all started in 2012 when Jose, a fisherman from a small village in Costa Azul, Mexico, set out for a fishing trip. Jose, who was 36 years old at the time and an experienced fisherman, left for the ocean on November 17, 2012 with a companion. They only planned to be out for about 30 hours, so they didn't carry much on their small 7-foot boat. The boat had a motor and a refrigerator for storing fish. They took just enough water for a day, unaware that the next 438 days would be the worst days of their lives. They went about 120 kilometers off the coast, where they cast their fishing nets. But then, a terrifying storm suddenly hit. In an attempt to save their lives, they abandoned their nets and sped towards the shore. After 6 hours of non-stop sailing, they were only 20 kilometers from shore and they could see their village. They had outrun the storm, but now their luck turned. Just 20 kilometers from safety, the engine of their boat failed. They had no paddles and no way to control the boat's direction, as the boat's sail was also not working. They had a radio though, and managed to send their location to their boss, hoping for a rescue. But before help could arrive, their radio's battery died, cutting them off from the outside world. As they waited in shock, the winds began to blow them further out into the ocean, away from the shore that had been in sight. Despite their boss organizing a search party, it was too late, as they had already been pushed hundreds of kilometers away from land. Days passed, and the winds had pushed their small boat 450 kilometers away from shore. Surrounded by nothing but water, Jose and his companion knew their boat was too small to be spotted. They had no flare gun or way to signal for help. Their food and water had run out, forcing them to catch and eat birds that landed on their boat and raw fish that swam nearby. To avoid dehydration, they collected rainwater in plastic bottles floating in the sea. When it didn't rain, they had to drink fish and turtle blood to quench their thirst. As days turned into months, their mental and physical suffering became unbearable. After 4 months, Jose's companion could no longer handle the torment and committed suicide, leaving Jose completely alone on the boat. Now alone in the vast, silent expanse of the Pacific Ocean, Jose had no one to talk to and no hope of rescue. His location was so remote that even cargo ships rarely passed by. After more than 6 months, he finally saw a ship in the distance. which rekindled his hope for survival. He waved and signaled desperately, but tragically, the crew didn't see his small boat, and it sailed away, leaving him once again in despair. By the time he had spent 11 months at sea, José had drifted 8,000 kilometers. His clothes were torn, and all he had left to protect himself from the sun was his underwear. Then, on January 30th, 2014, after 14 months lost at sea, José spotted coconuts floating in the water, a sign that land was near. A short while later, he saw an island. Fearing he might miss it, he jumped into the water and swam to shore. After 438 days, he had finally set foot on solid ground. The island he reached was Ebon Atoll, part of the Marshall Islands, 11,000 kilometers away from where he had started. There he met a local man, the first human he had spoken to in over a year. José was eventually rescued and returned home, but his troubles didn't end there. After publishing a book titled 438 Days about his ordeal, he was sued by the family of his companion, who accused him of causing the man's death, despite José's claim that his friend had taken his own life. This incredible survival story captured the world's attention, and José Salvador Alvarenga became known as the man who survived the longest time ever stranded at sea.